Hello everyone, Ray here, looking for a mid-ranger from Samsung, but the C9 Pro is way too massive for you. Here we have the C7 Pro. It packs a really gorgeous 5.7 inches display, a dual speaker setup which the S8 lacks, and a power-efficient processor with a relatively large battery. Is it your next phone? Let's have a look. Just like the C9 Pro we've checked out last time, the 5.7 inches C7 Pro shares the exact same design language. On the front, well obviously it's from Samsung. Actually it kind of looks like an ancient Galaxy Note phone. Futuristic, stylish, elegant, not this time. But to be fair, the materials used to craft the C7 Pro are not bad at all. The aviation aluminium chassis gives a really solid and cool touch of metal. With those appropriate curves along the edges, it is comfortably in hands, while the thickness measured at only 7mm. It's not a phone that's built to impress the people around you, but the level of craftsmanship is definitely impressive. As the C7 Pro basically shares the same design as the C9 Pro, we're not gonna dig too deep into the design today. Feel free to watch my full review on the C9 Pro to learn more. The only actual downgrade though can be found on the SIM tray / microSD card slot. On the larger sibling, the C9 Pro, we've got a dual SIM plus a separated microSD card slot. On the C7 Pro, the smaller chassis provides limited room for that, so it's a combo slot. Now time for the good news, we've got an LED notification light right next to the earpiece. It is there, but it's invisible during idle. Samsung's also made a good use of the earpiece on the front. The C series is the only option to get a dual speaker setup among all the offers from Samsung. On the bottom side, there we have a Fairy 2017 USB Type-C port with USB on-the-go support. And yes, a 3.5mm headphone jack. Good to see you here. By the way, the microphones on the bottom edge and the top side also give respectable audio quality, considering the price, with stereo recording. Last but certainly not least, the good old front-mounted fingerprint sensor. It is as speedy and accurate as the premium offers from Samsung, but Huawei is still the king in this category. But generally speaking, the design might be boring and old-fashioned, but the C7 Pro is indeed well built. With all the LED notification light, NFC chip, microSD expansion we've found on flagship phones, and it even packs a dual speaker setup. Amazing. Now, performance and features. It could be one of the major trade-offs for getting a mid-ranger instead of a proper flagship. However, it's not necessarily the case here. Yes, it is based on the outdated Android 6.0.1, but it's carried almost all the features we've got on the S series, sometimes even more. We can record the screen at any time and anywhere. Always on display is also there, but obviously it's not the fully loaded version on the S8. Speaking of fully loaded, we've got the same multi-window and floating windows framework. Real multitasking on the C7 Pro is the absolute best on a mid-ranger. Even the game center is here. Looking for better battery life or optimal performance, the C7 Pro's got you covered. Do not disturb mode is also literally one click away. We can also lock the capacitive keys during gameplay, and gameplay recording for sure. So basically the missing features are possibly just Bixby and Google Assistant, and it's based on Android 6.0. If you value future-proofing, the C7 Pro may lag behind, but for now it is as features-packed as the premium flagship from the S series. Now the interesting bit. The Snapdragon 626 processor is not meant for top-notch desktop-class performance for sure, but it's a really efficient chip, with 8 Cortex-A53 cores clocked at 2.2 GHz. Not exactly flagship performance, but close. Definitely usable. And time for the second round, testing out the RAM management of the system. It seems that 4GB of RAM works perfectly fine on the outdated Samsung software from last year. Every single app has been kept in memories. At the end of the day, it's not a genuine flagship, but like for half the price, the performance drop is like for 10 to 15% compared to the S8. During day-to-day navigation, it is definitely more than satisfactory. You won't be disappointed. Graphics performance though is the same as last year's model. However, the Adreno 506 is simply good enough for a 1080p display. Not the most reliable gaming machine though, but hey, just a mid-ranger and you can game on this. Now the camera. It's safe to say Samsung separates the C and the S series with the camera. The same 16 megapixels camera we've found on the C9 Pro is here, backed with an f1.9 aperture, without optical image stabilization. The front camera, however, has been upgraded to a whopping 16 megapixels, with the same f1.9 aperture. Dynamic range and clarity might not be the best out there, but with such a wide aperture on the front, it's definitely usable in most lighting scenarios. The rear camera though, just an ordinary Samsung phone. Under good lighting it gives decent image quality, with saturated colors and accurate white balance. We can also capture full 16 megapixels images with HDR on finally. The C7 Pro, however, tends to underexpose a little bit to achieve better details in the highlights. But those are really challenging backlight scenes. Generally speaking, artifact is still there, and is more than noticeable, but most of the time with decent lighting, the C7 and the C9 Pro show significant improvement in the dynamic range and the overall clarity over last year's models. Now check out the details of the images. The white balance seems to be on the cooler side, but Samsung's kept everything true to life this time around, instead of giving us a warmer white balance and a reddish tint to please our eyes. But those artifacts, even in the broad daylight. When it comes to indoor and low-light photography, noise reduction and artifact kick in even further, to a point that all the details have been sacrificed. The white balance though continues to be true to life, and in this case on the cooler side, again. Colors are saturated but not as sharp as the S8. Without any sign of over-sharpening, the images taken with the C7 Pro are actually totally usable. Unfortunately, artifact and those noise start to dominate the photos as the sun goes, resulting in those really low quality, noisy, and soft images. Without optical image stabilization, backed with a not the widest f1.9 aperture, low-light performance where the C series lags behind, compared to what Samsung can offer on their flagships. Video recordings also mediocre, maxing out at 1080p and lacking optical image stabilization again, not the phone for professional videographer. The 5.7 inches 1080p Super AMOLED displays thankfully really gorgeous. If we stare at those small text and the details, the difference in the sharpness between a Quad HD and a 1080p display on this size would be noticeable, especially on AMOLED panels. While the colors are indeed saturated, but not as over-exaggerated as those on the S8. And most importantly, the flat display wouldn't cause any sort of color shifting or distortion on the edges. So overall, 1080p on a 5.7 inches display is not the sharpest thing on earth, but color reproduction is top-notch. The dual speaker setup's also a surprise, not the loudest but way more superior than the S8. Multimedia experience on this guy is amazing. Last but again, another surprise. Samsung's given the C7 Pro a 3300 mAh battery to power a Snapdragon 626 processor and a 1080p AMOLED display. The battery life must be good. The question is, how good it is. According to the standard battery life test, in the first round, after 4 hours of YouTube videos playback at maximum screen brightness, 71% of the battery was left. Spectacular, while in the second round, the brightness has been dialed back to 50%. The result could be even closer to what you are probably experiencing in day-to-day media consumption. After an hour of YouTube videos playback, another hour of Facebook surfing, and an hour of Clash Royale gameplay, altogether 3 hours of media consumption, is the absolute longest lasting phone we've tested. With Quick Charge 3.0 to complete the package, Battery life on the C7 Pro's insane. Time to wrap the things up. The C7 Pro might look dull and boring, while the system might be outdated, Android 6.0 in 2017, and that camera. But hey, nothing's flawless. Apart from those 3 trade-offs, the C7 Pro packs all the hardware we need, with 64 gigs of internal storage, all the Samsung goodies from the S series, with a silky smooth user interface. Raw performance not necessarily comparable to current flagships, but we are talking close to flagship day-to-day media consumption and even gaming experience. Oh, don't forget that gorgeous display, the dual speaker setup, and the truly breathtaking battery life. If the C9 Pro offered what you needed, but was way too massive, the C7 Pro maybe is the nearest alternative. So that's it for today. Hope you all enjoyed watching this video. Like it if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe. There are also 2 more videos here for you to watch next. See you next time.